When I think of space, I think of the unknown. My mind starts to reckon about what could be past just our solar system, past our galaxy. Could there be a space war going on right now? Probably. We don't know that. The size of the universe is just too much for anyone to think sometimes. Even NASA has information which cannot be comprehended. There's a ton of things they don't know either and have no explanation for. Welcome. You're listening to TALRadio powered by Touch a Life Foundation, and this is Foodology. I'm radio host Devansh, and on this show, I talk about the enormous world of a little word called food. Space is one of my favorite topics to talk about. Let me shoot you with a random fact about space. One day on the planet Venus is longer than 1 year on Earth. Crazy, right? Whether it's a rare supermoon, a moon with a pinkish hue, a lunar eclipse, or a shooting star, we are often fascinated by what's happening in the sky. And I am sure you would have wished on a shooting star at least once in your lifetime. But why am I talking about space? Well, that's because in today's episode, I want to talk about space food. In the previous episode, I highlighted ocean food, like seaweed. So I thought, why not go to the space, since they say that sky should be your limit. So here we are. I always wondered, how and what do astronauts eat in space? There are quite a few surprising things that I came across. And that's precisely what I'll be sharing with you today. The world is on a cusp of a new era. An era in which anyone can travel to space. For the vast majority of human history, the only lucky ones who've ever been to space were professional astronauts hired and trained by the government agencies around the world. The space tourism industry is at dawn, and in a few decades it would be thriving. Do you know that a full NASA spacesuit costs around $12 million? That's quite a lot of money to spend. The first people to go into space only went up for short trips, for a few days. Today, astronauts can spend weeks or even months living and working in space. They stay on a large spacecraft called a space station, which orbits around the Earth. The astronauts on board spend their days carrying out scientific experiments, studying things such as effect of space on human body and the growth of plants, and so much more. Nonetheless, you still have to eat on the spaceship. The downside is that the food in space isn't as extravagant as the spacesuit, the spacecraft, or the whole experience in itself. The ISS orbits around 400 kilometers from the Earth, and everything needs to be taken there from Earth. This means that astronauts have to conserve resources such as water and food, and the waste needs to be kept to a minimum. There are a lot of considerations that need to be kept in mind, especially the diets of astronauts, because the human body goes through a lot of changes. It isn't just a change of environment and lifestyle. It's also the fact that you have left the planet and now are living in space. In a no-gravity environment, food and drinks would simply float away. To deal with this issue, food is carefully contained and drinks are packaged as dehydrated powders. The astronauts, they simply add water to the beverages through a special tube before drinking. Life in space is not the same as living on Earth. In space, astronauts' body change. On Earth, our lower body and legs carry all of our weight. This helps to keep our bones and muscles strong. In space, that's not the scenario. Astronauts float. They do not use their legs much. Their lower back and their leg muscles begin to lose strength. The bones begin to get weak and thin. And to tackle this situation, they must exercise in space every day. More so, Their diets are formulated in such a way that they can get the extra nutrients to adapt to their changed environment. The heart and blood change in space too. Since when we stand up on Earth, blood goes to our legs. The heart has to work extra hard against gravity to move blood all around the body. In space, without the pull of gravity, the blood moves to the upper body and the head. Water and fluids in the body also do the same thing. So, they have to keep moving, exercising and eating well to handle such situations and changes. Astronauts eat 3 meals a day, plus some snacks, just like they do on Earth. Their meals are organized by the order in which they are going to eat, and they are stored in locker trays, which are held by a net so that they won't float away. When the mealtime comes, astronauts go into the gallery area in the shuttle's mid-deck. There, they add water to freeze-dried foods and dehydrated drinks from a rehydrating station that dispenses both hot and cold water. They heat foods in a forced air convection oven that's kept between 160 and 170 degrees Fahrenheit, or 70 to 80 degrees Celsius. It usually takes about 20 to 30 minutes to rehydrate and heat an average meal. The astronauts attach their food containers to a food tray. The tray itself connects either to the wall or to the astronauts' laps. They open the food packages with scissors and eat with a knife, fork, and a spoon. Simple. There are also chairs and tables fixed to the base with belts so that they can have a normal dining experience. Although they might have a lot of food to eat, being in space can actually disrupt their diets. Without gravity, food's aromas, they simply waft away before they make it to the nose. When you cannot even smell food very well, you can't really taste it either. And because fluids tend to rise to the top half of the astronauts' bodies, most of the crew members usually have stuffy noses. Salt, pepper, ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, and other condiments are always available to enhance the flavor of food. But still then, condiments are quite different from what we eat them on Earth. For instance, salt and pepper, they have to be in liquid form so that the particles don't float away. With another random fun fact about space. Did you know that there's a planet that's made of diamonds? Yes, there's a planet which is twice the size of Earth, called 55 Canceri. It's most likely covered in graphite and diamond. If you ever visit that planet, you would definitely be able to pay for the $12 million spacesuit that got you there. An astronaut can choose from many different types of foods, such as fruits, nuts, peanut butter, chips, chicken, seafood, candies, brownie, and whatnot. Drinks are also available like coffee, tea, orange juice, fruit punches, and lemonade. Carbonated drinks, however, have been tried in space, but they are not favored due to changes in belching caused by microgravity. Without gravity, to separate the liquid and gas in the stomach results in a kind of vomiting called wet burping. Did you know that in December 2019, the first cookies were baked in space? This cookie dough was provided by DoubleTree by Hilton and was baked on board the International Space Station, taking 2 hours in the oven. Now, it must be ensured that astronauts get about 2,500 calories per day. Initially, space food was mainly dehydrated or provided in pastes and eaten from tubes. Quite disgusting. As science and technology have provided us with new forms of food processing, packaging, and ingredients, the foods have also improved to resemble meals that are available on Earth. Fresh fruits and vegetables are refrigerated on board, and they are consumed quickly to avoid any kind of spoilage. Vitamins and nutrients can generally be satisfied by other means like supplements. The only reason that fresh fruits and vegetables are sent is to keep the morale high and make the astronauts feel a little normal. Meat and dairy products have radiation applied to them before the packaging. This increases their shelf life and reduces microbial contamination. Then there comes the intermediate moisture foods, which contain only a small quantity of water, and they are often soft in texture. A lot of common processing techniques used on Earth, such as salting, sun drying, they're also used in the creation of these items, and they require no further preparation. Snack foods such as nuts, biscuits, chocolate bars, which are simply packed and ready to eat, they're also abundantly available on the spaceship. Heat treating is also used to prepare many kinds of ready-to-eat meals. Bacteria is killed off in this process by applying heat and then quickly sealing the product in an airtight packaging. I came across this one-day astronaut menu while doing my research, and I'd love to share it with you. So, for the breakfast, they usually eat cold roast pork, mashed potatoes, rich wheat bread, quince sticks, and coffee. For snacks, cheese, biscuits, apple juice, and some chips. For lunch, they ate jellied sturgeon, sorrel soup, stewed beef, bread, plum juice, and prunes. For their supper, they had pork hamburger with egg, cottage cheese with nuts, rye bread, sweets, and tea. This menu sounds quite delicious and quite normal. Foods that are taken into space are pre-planned by the mission team, and they are often chosen from a menu by the astronauts themselves. There is a lot that goes into the process of planning and packaging food for space. The main concern of any space agency is to keep the food as light as possible while making sure that it's nutritious, tasty, and stable without refrigeration for as long as they possibly can. Food and drinks are packaged using similar methods to those used in other forms of long voyage, especially those undertaken by military. Primarily, Ziploc bags, retort pouches, and cans are used due to their lightweight, compact size, and airtight seals, which prevent spoilage and spillage. The Space Food Systems Laboratory produces freeze-dried food and packages commercially available beverage powders, cookies, candies, and other dried goods that astronauts selected for their menus. This Space Food Research Facility produces heat-stabilized foods in pouches similar to military meals which are ready to eat. They're not just involved in creating foods for astronauts, but they're constantly researching and developing different kinds of foods and different methods to prepare high-quality nutritious meals for long-term in space. They have test kitchens to develop product concepts, freeze dryers, canning and pouch sealing equipment, temperature controlled storage for shelf life studies, sensory evaluation centers, and whatnot. Inside the spaceship, food is prepared using microwaves and convection ovens. At the water stations, a water gun reconstitutes dehydrated meals and fills water bags. When an astronaut chooses their meal, they scan a barcode on the back of the meal's package. This also allows their mission team to keep track of what they're eating. The menu on the International Space Station includes more than 100 items, from vegetables and fruits to pre-prepared meals and desserts. Even condiments such as ketchup and mustard are available. There are 3 meals a day plus snacks that can be eaten at any time. On the ISS, food is delivered refrigerated or dehydrated once every 90 days, which can be cooked in microwaves or convection ovens. In the recent years, space food has been used by various nations engaging on space programs as a way to share and show off their cultural identity and facilitate intercultural communication. Modern astronauts have a greater variety of main courses to choose from: Italian, Japanese, Korean, Chinese, Russian, and so many other food menus. One day, maybe we could also get a chance to explore space and enjoy the space cuisine. Compared to the sucking pasty vegetables through a tube, dining in space has come a long way. A newer concept of station farms is also being tested. And soon, spaceships might be able to produce some or all of their food for long voyages. That means more time in space, stuffy noses, and weird and a unique dining style. Thank you so much for sticking around with me on this episode of Foodology. I had an incredible time talking to you. This is radio host Devansh, signing off. Hope you have a beautiful and a magical day ahead. See you soon.